Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Octopus Math by Sahiba. The question 2 is a company asked their employees how long they took to travel to work one day. This table summarizes the times for 120 employees. Okay. So 120 employees is already given, and even if it's not given, you could simply calculate it by adding the frequency. This table actually means if you don't understand the table, let me quickly give you an explanation to this. Like, there are 12 employees. I'm talking about this firm, right? There are 12 employees who took less than 20 minutes to travel to work. Okay. And there are about 28, there are 28 employees that took more than 20 minutes and less than 40 minutes traveling to work. So this is how the table goes. And when you, because this is the frequency I'm talking about, this is for the number of people. So when you add them up, like 12 plus 28 plus 45 plus 22 plus 13, you get 120. So you are sure, even if this 120 was not given, you can quickly find out 120 by adding the frequency, because these are the total number of people who have been asked about their journey time to reach to the office, right? Okay. So, okay, part 1 says complete the cumulative frequency table below. So in cumulative frequency, what we do is we add subsequent values. For less than 0, there's no, there's no person who travels, who takes less than 0 minutes, because it's not possible, right? So 0 is the starting frequency, and then for less than 20, all the people who took less than 20 are actually 12. Okay, because it's talking about this less than 20, right? And now it talks about the second category, talks about all the people who took less than 40 minutes. Now this category actually tells you the number of people, which is 28. There are 28 number of people who took time from 20 to 40, like more than 20 minutes and less than 40 minutes. And this table, the heading of this table actually tells you to count the number of people who take less than 40 minutes. So in less than 40 minutes, these two categories will be added, 12 plus 28, right? So this is how you create cumulative frequency table. And in this one, 45 will be added to the previous two numbers. So 12 plus 28 plus 45 gives you 85. And then another 22 for 107. And when you add the last one, you will see that it's automatically added up to 120, because that's the total. Okay, and it will always happen like that if you calculate it correctly. The end of the cumulative frequency will always be the sum of all the frequencies. So I'm going to erase all the extra work. Right, so we get 1 mark for all the correct values. Right, on the grid, draw smooth cumulative frequency curve to represent these results. Okay, everything is given. So I'm going to quickly write down the numbers. So 0, 12, 40, 85, 107, and then 120. So it's easier for me. The only reason I'm writing it here is so it will be easier for me to. So let's zoom out a bit. So, okay. Right. So if you remember, like 0 was the time, 0 was the number of people when you have less than the number of people who took less than 0 minutes, which is, if that's 0, there's a spot on 0, you need to make a spot right here. Okay, so 0, 0 is my first point. Now, because it's easy for me to look from here, but because I'm explaining you how this is done, so let me quickly go back. And it says from 0 to 20, there are 12 people. right? And because there is a graph of this cumulative frequency, this is cumulative frequency that we are plotting, so we are interested in plotting these, right? We don't have to plot 12, 28, 45, 22, and 13, but instead we need to plot 0, 12, 40, 85, and 107, and 120, sorry. So we need to see that for less than 20, it's 12, right? So on 20, I'm going to plot 12, and I see that these are 10 boxes. So one box will be equal to 2 units, right? Two number of people. So it's gonna be, if it's 12 number of people, like the first number that I'm going to plot after 0 is 12. So it's gonna take us 6 boxes. I'm gonna quickly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Right. The next I'm going to do is 40, and that's on 40, right? Okay, next is 85 on the next point. So this is 80. Some of you might think that this is going to be 85, but this is not. It's not always like that. You just have to see these two numbers. If first is 80 and then is 100, which means there's 10 boxes in between that represents 20 number of people. So in between right here, it's not going to be 85, but it's going to be 90 instead, right? So 85 has to be somewhere in the middle of 80 to 90, right? So it's 2.5 boxes, because for after 5 boxes, on the 5 boxes point, it's going to be 90. So like 2.5 boxes somewhere right here, it's going to be 85. My next point is going to be 107. So this is 100. Okay, let me quickly draw the last point. It's easy. 120. Okay, now for the middle one, it says 107 is the next point. So 107, that means this is 100. Remember, 2 boxes. One box is 2 people. So 1, 2, 3, 4, right? 5, 6. This means 106. And then this means 107. Oh, sorry, 108. So 107 is going to be somewhere here. Now I'm going to quickly connect this. This is going to be a rough sketch, so don't worry about it. Okay. Use your curve to estimate the median time and the interquartile range. Okay, for the median, what we need to do is we need to first, okay, let's talk about quartiles, right? Right. So for quartiles, I'm going to tell you what quartiles are. There are 3 quartiles. Quartile is basically dividing your whole data into 3 parts. This, right? So this one is first quartile, this is second quartile, and this is third quartile. These 3 points on the total data divides your data into 4 equal segments. Okay. So quartile 3 and quartile 1, the difference between these two gives you interquartile range. All right, this is a note that you want to make. And quartile 2 is median, right? So for median, let me change the color. And from 0 to 120, Q2, for Q2, it's actually going to be 60 because it's the half, right? And Q1 will be from 0 to 60 divided by 2. So it's somewhere here, 30, right? And because this is an estimation, I don't have exact, my lines are not straight. And from 60 to 120, the mid is 90. So this is a very inaccurate line for 90. And these are for Q1, Q2, and Q3. So I'm just going to quickly read it from the graph. All right. So this point, I assume, should be Q3. Somewhere around this should be Q2. And this point, so for Q1, I think this should be the right point, which is because there is 20 blocks representing 20 minutes. So again, it's like one box should be like, sorry, 10 blocks is representing 20 minutes. So one box should represent 2 minutes. So it's going to be 3 minutes less, 3 boxes less than 40. So it's 6 minutes less than 40, which is 34. Should be 34, right? Okay. For Q2, this is, I think, going to be the point, right? Because it's Q2 60, and this is the point we're talking about. So it's 4 blocks. So it's going to be 48. This is all estimated. So if you see the marking scheme, will be given a range of values, right? And for this center, because this line is not straight, I'm just going to consider this point as to be it. So I really want to take up this point, which is this, right? So it's 2 blocks. One block was 2 minutes. So this is going to be 64 minutes. And interquartile range is Q3 minus Q1. So 64 minus 34. Gives us 30, and we're good to go because the actual range given here is 28 to 32. So we're in quite good region. And there are basically 2 points, one for 64, one for 34, right? So one for 64 or 34, correct, and the other mark is for subtracting and getting the correct answer. So 64 is quite in the region because it says B1 for 63 to 65. So 64 is quite in a good region. And then either you take 63 to 65 correct answer, or you take the next value to be 30, in between 32 to 35. So 34 that we got, we're in good hands. Fine. Calculate the estimate mean for the time taken. Okay, so for estimated mean, I'll just quickly go to the table. Right. So for estimated mean, we are going to do some calculations here. For estimated mean, what we need to do is we need to first, because it's a range given, and remember, whenever you have been given a range, you can always find an estimated mean. You cannot calculate the exact mean because there may be 12 number of people are consuming time less than 20 minutes. It could be like all 12 people are taking less than time, either 20 minutes, or there are some people taking time 20 minutes, some people are taking 19, some 18, so it's because it's a range, you can't be certain that it's not an ungrouped data that you're so sure that person 1 is taking 18 minutes, person 2 is taking 20 minutes, person 3 is taking 11 minutes. So because it's a table and you cannot convert it back to an ungrouped data, like the raw data, so you'll always get an estimated mean to this. So for an estimated mean, we need to first estimate the mid value. We assume that to be X, right? So I'm just going to create another table. Okay. So from 0 to 20, the midpoint is 10. From 0 to 20, the midpoint is 10. From 20 to 30, the midpoint is 30. Even if you can't calculate, like there are some people cannot really calculate the midpoints of two numbers. This is pretty obvious that from 0 to 20 it's going to be 10. But for the numbers, it's not really obvious. For example, I want you to calculate the midpoint between 55 and 72. I mean, just a random number, right? So what you do is you add the two numbers and then you divide it by 2, right? So if you don't really get how to find the midpoint of 0 and 20, you add the two numbers and divide it by 2, you get 10. Right? So if you want to calculate the midpoint of 20 and 40, you add the two numbers, 20 and 40, you get 60, and then you divide it by 2, you get 30, right? So between 40 and 60, it has to be 50, and this is 70, and this is 90, right? So for mean, what we need to do is first we need to find the class mark. I mean, like this, x midpoint. And then what we need to do is we need to calculate fx. Now what fx means, this is f and this is x. We need to multiply this. I'm just going to extend the table. There's no space here. Right, so 12 times 10 is 120. Fx actually means you have to multiply f with x. So each f will be multiplied with x. For the second column, f is 28 and x is 30. So I'm going to multiply and get 840. The third column, 45 times 50. Okay, and for the fourth column, 70 times 22. And for the last column, it's going to be 90 times 13. Right, so the formula for the mean is summation fx divided by summation f. Now, summation fx actually means the total sum. This means sum of the fx, right? So this is fx. So I'm going to add everything up. 120 plus 840 plus 2250 plus 1540 plus 1170. This gives me 5920. This is summation of fx, right? And summation of f, if you want to calculate again, if you want to add it again, you can do it. But remember from the question, it was already given to be 120. So this is summation f because it's the sum of all the frequencies. So when we're talking about calculating the mean, we need to divide 5920 by the total frequencies, which is given 120. And this gives me 49.3. Subscribe to my channel Octopus Math by Sahiba for more videos.